So, you've had it with your boss. Maybe it's the broken promises, maybe it's the constant micromanaging, maybe it's the feeling that you're on different teams even though you're supposed to be on the same team. Whatever it is, you don't trust them anymore. But here's the deal. If trust is broken, then your work, your career, your well-being, all of it is gonna take a hit. So today, we're gonna break down exactly what you can do if you don't trust your boss anymore, how you can still do your best work ever, even if leadership isn't leading very well. If you're new to the channel, my name is David Burkus, and I study high-performing teams and work with leaders to build their best team ever. If you're looking to grow as a leader, or you're looking to help your team navigate the ever-changing workplace, then subscribe to the channel with the button down below, or better yet, find the link in the description for our email newsletter community. All right, let's get into it. Now, bad bosses come in a variety of forms, and we'll get to those in a minute. But I want to highlight the type of bad boss that'll be the best for this type of video, the one that you have the best chance of managing up. And here we're talking about the boss that just doesn't do anything. You may ask them for a raise and they say, oh, let me run it up the chain of command and see what I can do, and then nothing. You tell them you're overstretched at work and they say, oh, I'll talk to them about maybe hiring another person, and then nothing. It's every time you try and get them to advocate for something you need, there's nothing. But there's never any shortage of constructive feedback that they want to give you. How do you deal with that type of bad boss? The one that's always telling you what to do and never telling you how they're gonna help. In any relationship, when trust is broken, people either shut down or lash out, and neither of those options fix anything. Instead, the real play is to open the door to a conversation, even if the other person isn't going to walk through it. Now, when it comes to your boss, I get it. It's difficult to manage up. That door is heavy, and there's a power dynamic there that you can't dodge completely. But you owe it to yourself, to your team, and even to your boss to at least try and invite them into a real grown-up conversation. In that conversation, you might try saying things like, I want to make sure I see things from your perspective as well. What am I missing? Or, I want to make sure that what we're doing is aligned with the team's goals. How should I be prioritizing my work? Or even better, what are you dealing with your boss? And how can we as the team support that and make it a win-win? Now, you see what I did there? In each of those questions, you're showing leadership by seeking clarity. You're not accusing, you're inviting them into a conversation. You're not trying to escalate anybody's frustrations. You're actually trying to de-escalate the situation, or at least keep it neutral, as you get a better understanding of their perspective, hope they get a better understanding of yours, and you both can figure out why trust was broken and what to do next. Will it fix everything? Maybe not, but at least you started. And if they're not receptive to your candor, that might be a signal that it's time to look for what else is out there. But before you go making any rash decisions, you owe it to yourself and your team to at least start to repair this relationship. All situations are different, and you can't always leave when things get rough. Sometimes you're going to be stuck in that position, at least until you can find another one. So how do you deal with a boss who breaks trust? How do you manage up against a bad leader? Well, generally bad bosses come in three types. The micromanager, the one that hovers over your desk, asks for documentation for every single task, always wants you to put the right cover sheet on your TPS reports. This is probably the most annoying type. That's an Office Space joke if you didn't get it. The ghost, absent, not available when you need them, never advocates for you or your team, indecisive, ineffective. And then there's the volcano, unpredictable, leads with strong emotions, vindictive, destroys instead of builds. Different bad boss types require different strategies. Micromanagers thrive on control. They get anxious when they don't know what's going on. So take that anxiety away ahead of time. Send regular updates on your activity, even though they didn't ask. Break big projects into small milestones so that you can check in and notify them of your progress on a regular basis. Make status visible without being annoying. Think short emails, shared dashboards, Slack updates, constant communication. It's not about feeding their obsession with control, it's about taking away their reasons and opportunities to step in and take over your work unnecessarily. And if you do it right and you do it well over time, you might even find that they back off a little because they trust that you're gonna do what you say you're gonna do. Is your boss absent? Are they a ghost? Then you need to take initiative and make your wins visible. An absent boss isn't malicious, they're just overwhelmed, distracted, or not tuned in. Don't wait for them to set goals for you. Set your own goals and then communicate them. Don't wait for them to give you a project or even approve something. Just plan it out and pitch it to them proactively. And when you do, make sure that they don't feel like you're coming for their job, just that you're trying to figure out how to make them look good with the least amount of effort. I get it here. Yeah, you're technically doing work they should be doing, but you won't be doing it forever. If you're allowed to do your best work, eventually you might actually be taking their job. Volatile bosses run on emotion, good or bad emotion, and you want to make sure you don't get dragged into their chaos. In meetings, stick to the data, clear timelines, clear deliverables. Avoid personalizing their emotional swings. Remind yourself, this isn't about me, it's about them. Document your conversations and your agreements so that there's a paper trail there in case things really escalate and you need to get help from elsewhere in the organization. You can't change their personality, you can't change their behavior, but you can change your strategy. And I want to be clear here, I'm not saying we enable bad behavior. I'm not saying we kiss up to people who don't deserve it. This is tactical. This is about survival. This is about making sure we can last until the organization changes them out of their role or you change organizations. Here's the big secret high performers know. When you can no longer trust up, you start building across. If you've tried these tactics, you started the conversation, and you just can't build or rebuild trust with your immediate supervisor, then you start looking at peers, both on your team and elsewhere in the organization, to build trust and who might be able to help you. Think about all the different strategies that we've covered with dealing with the bad boss. A lot of them deal with having to be proactive and take action to get the things you need. To do that, you're gonna need a network across the entire organization. So make sure that you're learning what other people do. Maybe you're even requesting job shadowing and things like that, and you're building an external strategy because the internal one just isn't working. Let me give you an example of this. Years and years ago, I worked in academia, one of the most bureaucratic of the bureaucratic organizations. And as I was transitioning out to what I do now, working with leaders and organizations, there was a faculty member that I had become really close with. I trusted her. She was a great faculty member, but she didn't really trust her dean anymore. And eventually I said, you know who you need to talk to? Curtis. My buddy Curtis was a dean in a totally different school, different part of the campus, etc. And I said, you two should probably meet. She walked into Curtis's office and she said, David says you're someone I can trust. And then proceeded to vent about everything she had been dealing with. Within 6 months, she had taken a transfer. She now taught under Curtis in his school, in his department. Similar subject area, similar students, similar work, but so different. Because sometimes the best way to manage up is to start building across and finding new people you actually look up to manage up to. Okay, real talk. Sometimes you've done everything right and it's still not working. If that's the case, then yeah, you probably should consider moving on. You don't owe loyalty to a leader who isn't loyal to you. You owe it to yourself to find a place where you can grow, where you can thrive, to work on a team that fully engages you, and for a leader that you want to trust and that trusts you. This is risky, and I don't want you to take anything that would be financially damaging or anything like that. I don't want you to make rash moves, but if you really feel like I've done everything I can, then the last thing left to do is find some greener pastures. In the long run, very few people who leave a bad boss regret it in the end. And your career is a long run. So don't let that bad boss be an anchor on it for a very long time. If you found this helpful and you want to learn more about building trust, rebuilding trust, whether it's in work or in life, You're gonna wanna check out this video here on the trust loop, the real way we build trust. Trust isn't a bonus, it's the baseline, or at least it should be.